This is Isaiah Cassidy. I'm Mark Quinn with Private Party.
And you're listening to the All Elite Podcast.
Yo, you're listening to All Elite Podcast. Boom. And it is the worst podcast ever. We live! Ow!
Hi, this is Brandon Cutler, and you are listening to the All Elite Podcast.
I see you. And this is the All Elite Podcast, which happens to be the worst podcast I've ever been on. I see you.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the All Elite Podcast right here on the No Holds Barred Network, which is your source for all wrestling podcast content and more. I'm your host as always. I can say that right. Your self-proclaimed greatest host, Kyle Masters, not always joined today by the wonderful, the indie queen, the heartbreak chick. She has so many nicknames. It's so crazy to remember them all. But she's not here. She is taking a week off from podcasting. So Tiffany, wishing you well. But because this fellow podcasting community is so awesome, I managed to bring a couple of my podcast friends with me on today. Number one, you know him right below me down here as I don't know, Bob, Robert, whatever you want to call him, from the Bob Culture Podcast. What's going on, man?
Hey, Kyle, thanks for having me on what's yet to date be the most handsome episode of the All Elite Podcast.
God, it has to be
here, and I'm sending all my love to Tiff right now. We got streamers. There you go, Tiff.
There's a lot of testosterone on this podcast today, and then we're also joined by my new best friend. We're the new best friends tag team, just like Chuck and Chuck and Chen. This is Bill. That's him. That's Bill. I just call him Bill.
Bill Bodkin, editor-in-chief of thepopbreak.com, regular contributor to the Bob Culture Podcast. Dude, I'm ready to get my heifer ass and my ratchet self ready to talk about some dynamite. I'm also going to take this scarf off around my neck.
You damn heifer. You look like a heifer with that scarf.
I mean, yes, I have a terrible opinion of myself, so yeah, thanks.
Oh, man, that was something. That was something else.
That was one of my favorite things I've seen in wrestling in a very long time.
I don't know if you couldn't pay. I can't put my finger on it because I would have never guessed something like that was going to happen out of where Cody was leading to. Honestly, just from watching all the rumors on Twitter that yesterday, I honestly thought it was going to be Ryback. I'm like, okay, here comes Ryback. Here comes Ryback.
Why? But okay, so that's my question: is why the hell would it be Ryback? Like,
I don't know. There was like rumors everywhere of people saying, "Oh, Ryback's is sure to be all elite." I'm like, where did this come from? Like, why is he? I didn't really look into it today. I didn't pay attention to those rumor mills, but apparently Ryback is tied to AEW, and I don't know why he would be. I don't know why they would be interested in a guy like that. Like I don't know. The roster's too big in my eyes. I can't get behind a Ryback in AEW. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's just that's a no for me, dog.
Yeah,
it's a no for me. If anyone's ratchet ass should get out of here.
Yeah, speaking of Hefes.
Oof.
But guys, if you're new to the podcast, as you know, as you don't know, this is where myself and Tiff usually talk about everything in the AEW world. If you're returning back and you're a returning fan, thank you for coming back. Thank you for downloading the episode. If you're watching live, if you're watching back, all is appreciated. We got a jam-packed show today, but we got to talk about the big news. Before we get into Dynamite, I think the biggest news of the week in terms of AEW, besides Full Gear, was the video game announcement, obviously. I mean, I think we're all still talking about what was released in probably the greatest fashion ever. A bunch of AEW stars dressed as Steve Jobs and giving an Apple-like presentation of their 3 games soon to be released. 2 of them later next year. One of them apparently this winter. I mean, I got confused with Cody's like right now. Then at the end of the commercial, it's like this winter. I'm like, hey, what? Did you mean now, or did you mean like now, like 5 weeks from now?
He explained it himself why Tony Khan didn't put him in charge of video games. He doesn't know shit about video games, so can't trust him on a release date.
There's no shit about release dates then, I guess. Because I don't know what's going on with that, but really 3 interesting, cool games being released. A console game, I guess, and then 2 phone games. I guess one is a casino type game, and the other one is a general manager game, which, you know, in the podcasting or wrestling video game community, that's a big thing with wrestling games is like the GM mode, in terms of like even the WWE games. Like, it was the big feature that everyone kind of looked at as like, you know, this is your main thing you're supposed to focus on, and it's gonna buy or sell your video game. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens with this video game coming out with the console one, because I'll put the first picture up here on the screen, and these are the 4 images I took from the commercial of the actual, not the 8-bit video that they joked around about, which was hilarious, by the way. Yeah. With like Moxley and Jericho like kicking like not even each other, and you couldn't even see the ring. But this, okay, so
I would love to see that game. I'm not gonna lie. If they released that for free for the phone, just a little scroller like that, it would just be so dopey, but so fun and like on brand, I think, for AEW.
It'd be an 8-bit mode.
Oh,
like a behind mode, like, you know, like you go, there's like play now, then there's like 8-bit mode. So these are the 4 images here. Like, I need to know what your guys' I need to know your first reactions to when you first seen this trailer. So we'll start with Bob. Like, what did you think when you first seen this trailer? What were your initial reactions?
Well, first, if you know me, you know I got to get that shameless plug. I cover the 2K games over on the popbreak.com. I got you, Bill, the editor-in-chief over there. And, you know, thank you.
I got you some free stuff. You're welcome.
I mean, I was going to be very I wasn't going to say that, but thank you, 2K, of course, for taking care of us over at the Pop Break. And, you know, I keep it very real, and I think this is a perfect time right now for AEW to come out with all this stuff after a huge misstep. You know, not knocking anyone here, but 2K20, that game was not ready for WWE. The glitches made for some really fun memes and some really fun Twitter stuff and retweets and all that. But AEW is kind of looking to the fans, as they always do in their product, looking to the fans who want that GM mode back, as you mentioned, who want, you know, more of that. You know, they even brought it up, which I was surprised to hear the actual words, "No Mercy," in that commercial.
Yeah.
They want that game, arguably the greatest wrestling game of all time. I remember, you know, what was it? Here Comes the Pain. What was it? Shut Your Mouth. All those PS2 games. SmackDown versus Raw.
When SmackDown versus Raw first came out, I was like a kid in a toy store. Like, I was so like that first commercial they had for it with like the Tori Wilson in like a bra and panties, and I was like, oh my, like as a kid at that age, I was like, sold, take my freaking money already, that's mine, taking it. And they had, I don't remember if it was that game or the game after, they had like a buried alive match mode in it too.
Yeah.
The weird looking one where you put them in the coffin and then the dirt falls on top of the coffin.
I love those games though, because, and again, we see AEW go in that direction. So I'm hoping to see a lot of, and you know, Bill, I'm already, you know, in contacts with those involved. Like, I'm going to review it for the site. And I'm excited for that one. But I want to see more of that, like the creator wrestler modes, the calls, as we used to call them, where we would make the formulas to make guys who weren't in WWE back in the day. Like, AJ Styles' moveset was in the game, but AJ Styles wasn't in WWE. Rey Mysterio just came on the TV, so his entrance was in the game, but like his character wasn't. So I'm excited to see if AEW does that with a lot of like the dark wrestlers.
Yeah.
Indie talent. So excited for this game. The graphics look pretty cool. I already see memes like people making fun of it, and they had that huge disclaimer like, this is not the finished product. This is not the finished product. This is not the finished product. So I'm excited. I'm feeling, cautiously optimistic on this one.
Okay. Bill, what were your when you first seen the trailer, your initial reactions right away?
I mean, I like, let's be realistic about AEW. It's a bunch of nerds who run the company. And I mean that in the most positive ways. So for me, like Kenny Omega, renowned video game nerd, like, he's going to go the extra mile to make this game look great. And the fact he's going No Mercy. Now, I'm not a No Mercy guy. I never played No Mercy. Excuse me. I was a WrestleMania 2000 guy, which, by the way, was the start of any video game or cartoon character you create of me eerily looks exactly like me. It's a lot of the face and the cartoon looks, I'm a walking cartoon character. What can I tell you? Yeah, I'm on Rob's wall. I mean, literally deadly accurate. My brother Lo and I play MLB The Show 20, and I'm the only guy in the Yankees history who has facial hair. But when you see a faraway picture of me, it's just like a blob of gray. This is what I am. It's pale and gray. This is what happens when you're me. But regardless. I do love some of the memes. Jericho had that.
Oh my God,
50,
Jericho's one, the best.
50 where he pulls down the jean pant loop a little bit,
the
and
cartoon.
they put the video game character over that. I was just like, if that was me and I was Jericho, I would retweet that and be like, touche to whoever put this out.
He should make it his DM. That should be his display pic. That should be his picture.
Oh, I mean, he should also make a T-shirt of it and make
oh man, that's got to be if it got popular enough, they would, because literally anything that's popular design wise on AEW Twitter becomes a T-shirt eventually.
Yeah,
like our girl Maria, who designs a lot of the designs, she actually just made the new Hybrid 2 T-shirt that they just released. Really? So that was pretty cool to see that. I know a lot of her designs always get featured in the end of BTE. She created that with the two Young Bucks talking in cartoon form.
Did she did all the BTE stories or animation?
I think so. I know she did like the whole ending, like where it's like,
hey,
yeah, that she created that. So she made that, and Matt and Nick sent the voice clips over to her so they could put it together. So and she lives in Denmark, so like it's crazy that. How far away she is when she does all that. And when she watches like pay-per-views, it's like a crazy time when she's watching from over there to like when AEW's live. But she watches everything live, so she's amazing. We interviewed her on the podcast. She's a good friend of ours. She's done a lot for us. So like Maria, I know you're probably most likely going to be listening. Like shout outs to you. Your designs are probably the craziest and awesome, most I can't even speak. The greatest designs I've ever seen. They're awesome.
He was putting you over big time. But I think like I loved, the Jericho, like I liked I think the move that got me is when Kenny ducks the Judas effect and on his knee and slides around him.
Oh,
I was like,
yeah.
I'm like, that might just be a cinematic, but I'm like, oh, that's something, because that's very realistic to the game. But I think what really sold me was when we had the Sheeta Kenny confrontation in the ring. And just seeing how good Sheeta looked as a character and seeing her with the knee strike and how cool that looked, I was like, okay, I can get behind this. This is going to be very cool. And and knowing AEW, knowing their attention, their love of history of pro wrestling, they're not ones to shy away from talking about WWE or NWA, WCW, whatever.
Impact, Don Callis on Full Gear.
Impact. Oh, God, I popped so hard for that. Listen, I'm a big network fan from ECW, so I could definitely get down with a Winnipegger.
Yeah.
But it's just like I'm so excited to see what they're going to bring to this, because you're also going to get. Like, you have Matt Hardy. Are we going to see some sort of Ultimate Deletion Hardy compound match?
Oh,
are we going to see a bunkhouse brawl, which we'll talk about that? And by the way, you know what character I'm looking forward to playing? Goddamn Bunkhouse Butch, the Butcher, man. He's my favorite. I can't wait to see him in video game character. Like, I'm hyped for that game. As for the other games, like GM mode sounds super cool. The casino game, I don't like spending money on apps or games.
So a lot of people were confused. With
I
the
like the
casino
commercial
game.
though, because some of Rob's buddies, Casey Navarro, the blessed one, he was there, and a few other guys from the Northeast, as Tash would say. Although last time I talked with you guys, I made him sound like he was from Boston. I was like, Darby Allen. I'm like, nah, he's not in the town, which aired after Dynamite this week. But.
Yeah, so a lot of people I know are confused about the casino game, which I'll put up on the screen for you guys. It's basically going to be like a casino type game that you use real money to play the casino type games, but how they got around the gambling thing around that, the prizes will be AEW merchandise, which is interesting. If you're a big merchandise guy and you're all for the merch and any kind of AEW type prizes, I imagine that it'll be more than just merchandise. Maybe you win, like if you win like a grand prize in a tournament, you win tickets to like a pay-per-view maybe or something like that.
Rob, this is gonna be a very hyper local thing. I'm gonna ask Rob about. Do you remember the Game Changer app that Skate Surf was trying to do, which Game Changer Wrestling basically came from?
Yes, I was just going to go there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there was this. So Game Changer Wrestling, real quick, total sidebar, tangent. If you ever know me, this is what I do for a living.
It sounds familiar.
So they had an app. It was made by a concert promoter. I'm not going to name him because he doesn't deserve it. You know it, Rob. You've dealt with him. I've dealt with him too. And he had this app called Game Changer, and it was like basically they did app games, and you would get prizes if you're playing at a concert. So it was like, hey, you won a free T-shirt. Hey, you won a free meet and greet. If you did stuff with like T Mills or Bayside, those and Census Fail. So this reminds me of that. The thing was called Game Changer. They then had a thing called Game Changer World. They then had a wrestling promotion there called Game Changer Championship Wrestling or Game Changer Wrestling, which we all know now as the star making GCW. And Tiff did say on the chat that your friend did do the being the Elite Toy Story animation, and she's pretty great.
That's right. So yeah, 3 great games. The casino games, very interesting to me. I'm a big casino guy. Like I'm loving all those. I love playing those casino games. So that interests me. The other one is the GM one really interests me. Like, so the Elite General Manager, there it is on the screen for you guys. Just a little preview that they put out. I mean, from what I've seen in that commercial, the way your booking decisions actually affect the match outcomes and like the way you book matches. And I think from what I gather, you actually get to book storylines with the actual people as well. So this game, I think, is going to be very hardcore. Like, I can see this game being very, very good if they do it right. But I mean,
it's Aubrey though.
Yeah, so
Aubrey,
I mean, she's
when I say though, I didn't mean that in a negative way.
No,
she comes from that. A lot of people don't realize she comes from that video game world, and like, she's definitely going to make that something awesome. And as someone who may or may not still do, fantasy wrestling booking since he's done it since senior year of high school with the same wrestling organization named BWO that no one's ever going to see but me. It's going to be pretty rad. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be pretty cool.
I'm pumped for all 3. They look so good. Again, my initial thoughts for the console graphics though, I did for a slight, I'm going to say maybe for like 10 to 15 seconds before I remember the beginning of the trailer said that this is not, complete footage. Like, we could be elaborating on these games, whether it be graphics or gameplay. My first 15-second thought after that trailer was, oh my God, this kind of looks like a crappy WWE All-Stars or like that recent 2K game they just released that's really bad. Not 2K20, but the one after that.
Battlegrounds.
So I'm like, I hope it's not.
But that didn't look. I don't defend WWE too much, but I thought Battlegrounds looked like, even I know the characters were. I think it's like the fists are really big in the AEW game. That's why the fists and the muscles. Like Kenny is just like, he's like, steroid to the max, Lex Luger 1990 in that one.
I just like, if they're gonna
Jesus, dude,
if they're gonna aim towards and target the main what a video game person wants, the main people that are buying this game, like the streamers, the hardcore players, arcade style is not the number one thing that they're looking for. I don't think. I think it would be, you know, like awesome gameplay, a really strong story mode or GM mode in the game, and like a community creations where you can share your creations with like the wrestling game community. So I think those three things, I hope they're looking at including in this game. So we'll see what happens. But I have faith. They have the developer and director of No Mercy, which literally is still got to be in your top 3 wrestling video games of all time.
And that Def Jam fighting game, which was huge in the early 2000s, but that was everywhere.
And Kenny has a lot of Mortal Kombat background, so I imagine he's going to take a lot of stuff from the Mortal Kombat game and probably, you know, kind of put some into this game. Because to me, when I first saw the trailer after, I'm like, okay, so Kenny, Mortal Kombat, I'm kind of getting that Mortal Kombat kind of feel from that trailer. So unless there's going to be like a Mortal Kombat type mode in the game where it's like Mortal Kombat tournament.
I was just like, no one should die in these games.
Yeah, no. But you know what?
I don't want to see Marco stunts.
No, but like there's a Mortal Kombat game, a Mortal Kombat game mode within the game that, you know, maybe Kenny in that game mode does his like one-winged angel from like the ceiling or from like the sky, you know what I mean, and comes back down.
Oh, you know what I just thought of? If you have a Stadium Stampede mode.
Oh, yeah, that'd be sweet. I'd buy the game in 2 seconds. I'd line up at midnight for that.
Also, man, I hope WWE takes a cue from that and like really taps into, you know, since they, you know, that whole Twitch thing, taps into people like Xavier Woods and Adam Cole and a lot of like Paige
gamers
and Jessamine Duke, and start tapping into their talent and being like, what should we be doing with video games? Because these are very smart people, especially Xavier Woods. I mean, get him on was it G4 that's coming back? Like, get him on G4. He'd be great. And I probably got the name wrong, but G3 is also a virtuoso guitar playing tour that Joe Satriani and Steve Vai started in the 90s. So that's another tangent. But anyway, tap into Xavier Woods and AJ Styles and people who play games constantly and like make your game better, especially since, Rob, as you said, that last 2K game was such a flop. It's historically bad.
Yeah, which is why they made this new one. You know, like I said in the article on the popbreak.com, you know, they took a step back. Got you, bro. They took a step backwards, you know, making it this arcade style. So they embraced that. You know, it's not necessarily what us fans wanted. But, you know, like I said, this is the time for All Elite to capitalize and give us that game that we want. And, you know, those callbacks to those old games with the GM modes, with the No Mercy type gameplay. And I like what you're saying, Kyle, about a possible Mortal Kombat mode. That sounds phenomenal.
Dude, that would be amazing. Like you do like the Mortal Kombat style tournament in the game mode, and you know that's where the craziness would come out. Like maybe that's where you're fighting intergender. That's where you're doing these crazy, like godlike type moves. Maybe like your finisher is just absolutely nuts. Maybe the Judas effect, like, you know, knocks like your face into like a different direction, or, you know, something crazy. You know, like have fun with it. But I'm excited. The game is sure to be something crazy and something great. I can't wait for it to come out. Again, I am all for the casino game. I'm the big casino guy, so that interests me. And even the general manager game, like I'm gonna have to like free up space on my phone and have these 2 games like running all day. Maybe get like a battery pack, because as soon as these games come out, I'm gonna be like glued to my phone, hardcore. I don't know. Maybe we'll feature something with the channel when they do come out. But anyways, let's talk about Dynamite. Gotta talk about Dynamite because this episode was very interesting. There was a lot happening on this Dynamite, and number one I want to talk about is, what do you guys think of the new intro? I thought the new intro was pretty sweet, and on the same theme song, kind of remastered a little bit, but with the new, I guess the new, they taped all those little skits in front of all those lights, and that's like your new intro. I thought it was clean, it was bang on, and it looked good. It's almost like they did like a there would be like what's it called, like their new season, you know, when they have like the
it's
season
kind of what
premiere.
they're doing.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I was listening to Unrestricted today, the podcast series, and they're like, welcome to season 2 of Unrestricted, even though they've never stopped. It's like we entered a second season of Dynamite, which is weird because why didn't we debut this
on the anniversary show?
Or like after the anniversary show. I think that's because we're entering, if you read Tony Khan's tweets and stuff like that, I think we're entering a new phase of AEW.
Yeah, he was
I think,
hardcore about this episode this week. Like he was,
Yeah.
he
We'll
came
get
out
into
mid show during the commercial breaks and everyone, please stay. I know there's a storm happening, but please stay. We have like a crazy surprise for the end. Like don't go anywhere. Like he went nuts with this episode this week.
Wow.
Yeah, he did, and I think, I mentioned on the Bob Culture podcast, available on all major podcasting platforms.
Can't say I've heard of
Having us back anymore.
Can't say I've heard of that.
Rob, I was a salesman long before I met you, brother. So that we went through kind of a rough, weird transition period, coming out, getting everyone back, from restrictions and quarantine, even though we'll see how that plays out in the United States right now. That we got to this, we're getting to this part where it's just like the Bucks and Kenny look primed to be at the top, where we kind of had them, everyone was kind of complaining, why aren't the Bucks winning the belts? Why isn't Kenny, why isn't he doing more? I think we're going into a new phase with AEW.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that we're going to get a whole new, brand new graphics, brand new colors, brand new look, even though I never thought the old stuff should have been changed. But, sometimes you need it. And we are really, if you look at AEW Dynamite episode 1 to episode today, because I'm a journalist, I don't do numbers, is it's a lot different.
Yeah.
We're in a crazy different time and era right now in AEW, and it's time to, freshen things up. I'm surprised they didn't even change the theme song up. But I like the presentation of all around, and even the lower thirds. It was very subtle, but very clean, and it was really well done.
Mm-hmm.
And no one hammered it home. No one was like, "Look at this!" We know other companies will do. I just think it was really well done. Yeah. I really appreciate that. But I'm also a nerd for AEW.
I liked all of the new graphics. They look nice, and I freaking played on it. I loved it so much. I played it to our layout today. I'm going with this layout because I just love the way they did it. But yeah, I felt like Dynamite, it has been, different even since the beginning of COVID to now. They've had to adapt so much, being a brand new company who was at the time when COVID hit, barely 5 months into their regular TV program. So it was definitely interesting to see how this company has grown in the year that it has, and now we're starting kind of fresh. And like you said, Kenny and the Bucks are en route to being, at the top of the company, which now we have a date, December 2nd. That Dynamite is going to be the that's sweet. That's shaping to be the Dynamite, or that is going to be the Dynamite episode that Moxley and Kenny Omega do go at it for the AEW belt. So I mean, I don't know. I have to sit here and think, is that going to be the Dynamite that they finally, does Moxley drop the belt, or do they have something else up their sleeves that maybe we're not seeing right away, or are they just gonna pull the trigger and be like, hey, we're gonna have a unreal 30-minute match on Dynamite, and Kenny's gonna win it at the end, and he's gonna have a stare down with Hangman. Hangman's gonna come out and stare him down, and that's gonna start that feud.
Rob, do you want to take this one? Because I have many theories and thoughts.
Yeah, I'll jump in if that's cool. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I do think December 2nd, happy upcoming birthday, Bill. I think that, obviously is, when the match is going to be, but I think that, a lot of fans are saying that is going to be the title change. That is where Mox is dethroned. And I think it's appropriate. A lot of people say, well, why don't you wait till the next pay-per-view? Why don't we stretch it? And I'm okay. I like when things are a little bit more organic, where we don't go for the long builds. Obviously their pay-per-views are spaced a little bit more greater than what we're used to in other companies. And for all the right reasons, I really appreciate that. But I think they're trying to make that move right now. They've made little moves right now. You guys alluded to the new season, the new not rebrand, but kind of the new attitude feeling. Even with the opening, even with Tony Khan saying, "Hey, check it out tonight." I think they're making moves, and I think December 2nd kind of solidifies that move. The big title change on the program. Let's get all the commercials out of the way early so we can watch that match straight through. On this particular episode, I thought there was a great match to close the show. I really enjoy. I mean, that's my style right there. I really enjoyed the storytelling, and I think the commercial took away from that a little bit. So do it the right way. I think I'm okay with this move. It doesn't always have to be on a pay-per-view, but let's make sure the commercial's not in the middle of it. Let's have that storytelling. Let's have that title change. I know Omega's your guy. It's no secret here, Kyle. Like, that's your dude. So I'll be happy to see it. You know, he's got the new entrance, the new attitude. It's on brand with everything that AEW is doing right now. I'd be surprised if there was not a title change on December 2nd.
Yeah, he said he's coming. Like he said in that interview in the parking lot on Dynamite yesterday, that he was like, "Oh, everyone's talking. Everyone wants to see the cleaner, wants to see that side of me, my New Japan out in me." He's like, "Don't worry, it's coming." So he's even teasing it now on live TV rather than his Instagram account. So got here with Bill. Bill, what do you think about this?
Well, first off, I'd like to thank AEW for putting the biggest Dynamite of all time on my birthday. You know, I appreciate that. I also
exactly what they were
think
thinking.
I mean, listen, guys, they know long-suffering human beings. So hey, let's give me a little brightness in 2020. But no, I what I loved about that segment with Kenny was the fact he was like, and Robbie said, you know, not a long build, but in fact, it is a long build. Because of what Kenny said on Dynamite was, by the way, when I do that, my finger disappears in this part of the closet. Is that he's like, oh, John Moxley and I are, oh no, we've never had a match before. There's no record of it being on anywhere, because that was a lights out match between him and Moxley at Full Gear. So I like the fact we've played into this, that Kenny's never forgotten that match, and that now it's on his terms. It's not violence for the sake of violence, as Dusty Rhodes would say. It is going to be a wrestling match. And I'll credit guys from Fightful for this, that a lot of people think, and their theory too is, that it's going to be, we're going to see Mox disappear from television for a while. Why is Moxley going to disappear from television a while? Well, he's got a quarantine. So he can go to Wrestle Kingdom.
Oh, that's right.
So, because he's going to fight Kenta for the U.S. title. Now, would I love to see that title feud, you know, kind of spill over into some AEW stuff? Of course I would, because, you know, hey man, that's all I got, you know, during workday, just thinking about AEW stuff. But I think this is where you take it off Kenny, and I think we can have Moxley challenge. You know, there's enough time for Moxley to build up enough wins. I remember, God, he's got like an undefeated record in 2020, for him to come back, for him to win a number of matches. I can even see him beating Hangman or someone else to get to that number one position, challenge at Full Gear. Maybe we get a cage match, and let's go from there. That'd be cool. We do one cage match a year. That would be a great time to do it. So, and then have Moxley lose, and ultimately that's where my Moxley Eddie Kingston tag team is going to come up. You know,
a Moxley and Eddie Kingston tag team.
when and if the day comes that John Moxley and or Eddie Kingston comes out to aid the other while they're getting beat down, people will lose their minds in joy. I'm telling you, that will be a hot feud. Oh, hot team, I should say, and a hot angle. Sorry. I just lost my train of thought.
It's all good. I mean, it's a crazy thing. I'm still trying to wrap my head around Eddie and Moxley together. That would be dope. I could see them like going just ripping through teams.
Well, because like if I remember compared like the I Quit match was going to be like, you know, Ric Flair and Terry Funk, and if you watch the end of that match from New York Knockout at Clash of Champions, Terry Funk gets beaten up by his stablemates because he lost at the behest of Gary Hart, and Ric Flair came back out to help him. The crowd went berserk. And you have a history with Eddie and John, like, not like I know them personally, I'm sorry. And it just like Kingston
Moxley, my boys, yeah, you know.
I mean, you know, Eddie's from like roughly where my family came from. And it's like them having this background and this history together, and there was like a real respect between those two to have them come together at some point. Man, I would love to say that for a live crowd, because I think people would just go bananas for it. Because I think the Eddie Kingston face turn is 6 months away. Because he's such a good heel that people are ready to cheer for him.
Okay.
He's going to have the Pac feud first, which we'll get to. Jumping the gun, as I always do. But yeah, it's going to be pretty sweet.
Well, I mean, that was the big surprise.
I also thought the Gorillas of Destiny were going to come out of the pay.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
You know.
Our that prediction was out there, but it didn't happen. They kind of just. I guess he's all right. I guess Matt's okay because they're facing Top Gun next week, and that's probably going to be an Top Flight.
Top Gun was a team with Paul Diamond and Derek Dukes in the AWA. Yes.
Top Flight. That's going to be an insane match. And if Matt was truly injured, I highly doubt he'd be able to wrestle right now. They would have just carried them as like a non-wrestling champion tag team and, be more heelish and not wrestle at all and just let until Matt's injury kind of heals up. But they're jumping right into it next week. So I guess maybe he is just, he's selling the hell out of this quote unquote ankle injury because he was limping again this week. Like when he came out and did that Marvez interview, he was still limping.
I mean, I'm glad they didn't do it this week for me because it's just like, I think Top Flight, one of the brothers is Airwolf, who if you've watched MLW or AAW out of Chicago, he's really good. And his younger brother, Angel Dorado, I don't remember their real names, but like I know their mask names. He's only 19, so.
Oh, wow.
Young Bucks they need to be a lot healthier than coming out of that match with FTR, which was fantastic and brutal. So I think Matt is still nicked up. I think that knee's going to be that's going to be the new back for him.
Oh,
but but I think them in Top Flight, and if AEW's officially signed Top Flight, smart move.
Yeah, I believe they have, and they're real brother. Again, they're another team that are actual legit brothers. So this is basically the old Bucks against the new Young Bucks. So this could be. I wonder if it's going to be a passing of the torch, almost. Not exactly, but I know the Young Bucks still have a lot to go. But this could be a little pat in the back, saying, you guys could be us. We have this much faith in you. Like we're gonna put you over.
Tiff would say, because you can't go an AEW podcast without talking about Private Party. So Tiff, this one's for you. It's basically this is going to be like a Private Party moment.
Okay, like the one last year.
Yeah. I don't think Top Flight's going to win, but I think it's going to be a hell of a match, and they're going to, not every team has to win to be put over, basically. So I think like Top Flight won't win, but it'll be big time for them.
So that was a big. We were just saying like the with Eddie Kingston and Pac. So the big surprise was Pac. I think everyone kind of knew that was gonna be Pac at that point. And just the way they put Penta and Phoenix in the main event, and they had Eddie Kingston come out and, man, okay, this has to be Pac. There's no other, like, what are they doing here in this main event that's gonna end the show off, create like insane? And obviously Pac coming back is big. I was shocked, and I was honestly excited to see that, and he went right after Eddie. Like, these two are butting heads, and not anytime soon, because next week he's facing Blade, which is part of Eddie Kingston's family. But you saw what Kingston did. He's trying to split, for whatever reason, up the Lucha Brothers, like saying like Penta's his best friend, and you saw he kicked Phoenix out of the ring. He's like, screw that guy, like, or, kicked him out like he was like the dirt underneath the carpet, like, get the hell out of here. Don't worry about him, like he's nothing, You're the guy, and it's like, okay, what's his game? What's he getting at here?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. Like, I loved the main event. Like, I could just talk about the match in itself. Like, yeah, like Pat coming back, that was great. We all kind of saw the writing on the wall. I did enjoy like the promo a few weeks ago where he's just like,
it was actually last week. Every like that, but it does feel like 10 years ago when that video happened.
Yeah, but he's in confinement or whatever, and he has all like the multiple personalities of himself walking around. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. This is kind of fresh. I like where they're going with that. But the match in itself, like, that's my type of match. But again, you have Kingston come out, little promo, because let's face it, he could cut a promo anywhere, anytime, and it could be the best thing ever. Jumps on commentary, but I'm still wondering to myself, so he kind of made this match, and why? Because they just fought, and like, again, it's an incomplete thought, which I see a lot of in AEW, and I'm not knocking it because it's my favorite of all the programs on right now. But there's a lot of like incomplete thoughts, I think, and like not all the way storytelling. Like, even in other companies, when there's bad storytelling, they go all the way with it.
Yeah, they kind of just
don't give it up.
Yeah, they're just like, okay, they're having a rematch because their other match was so good, and that's why they're having the rematch, and you're gonna slot it into the main event. Like, it's just like,
but storyline wise, right? And that makes on paper it's like, yeah, great match, but storyline wise, I was scratching my head just a little bit. I always try to like fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
We talked about this on the last podcast with something else. It was Kingston and Moxley's promo. Again, I'm missing little pieces, but it's because his promo is so good. I think they use that to be like, Eddie, go do your thing, make this work. And he's so good, but I think like all the pieces need to be there. That being said, the match in itself, Phoenix and Penta, I loved the match. Like, I thought it was great. When he started ripping his mask, I was like,
man,
oh really?
What the hell? That's
you guys haven't watched a lot of Lucha Libre, then, man. I can see that because there was a big thing? Run where, oh god, it's such a huge thing.
Okay, I thought it was like
Eddie Kingston said, "This ain't Mexico, this is Jacksonville, baby." But yeah, I've watched a lot of AAA. There was a time like 5 years ago because I found out more about AAA through Lucha Underground. I was a big Lucha Underground fan, and I started watching AAA on YouTube every Saturday night because being unemployed and a stay-at-home dad, you got to figure out something to drink too. And so yeah, I would watch it, and like, dude, like every main event is like, let's rip the mask, and then the guy's bleeding and all stuff. So originally I was like, man, what would be some crazy shit that could happen right now? And I because like I said, hate my job, I have to think of something. I don't care if my job sees this. Psycho. I was thinking like, oh, maybe someone from AAA is gonna come out. AAA, as they say in Mexico.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe that will happen. I'm like, okay, that's as cool as it would be for me, that's not going to happen. But yeah, the mask ripping is like a thing, and like we've seen that in AEW before. Remember FTR? They pulled up was Pentagon's mask.
Oh,
and that's how they end up pulling a win. Mask ripping is a huge sign of disrespect. It's a big heat moment. It's just like when the heel does it, the crowd goes bonkers, but when the face does it back, that's the big revenge moment. So yeah, it's definitely a big thing in Lucha Libre tradition, at least of the last 20 years.
Looks so weird. I was just like, oh, this is awkward as fuck. Like, I was just, what is happening?
I was like, this is just another Lucha Libre match to me.
But the fact that they're brothers, like, yeah, like I totally get like the disrespect. Like, please, even the announcers went into it. Like, we all know that, like, that disrespect. We know that storytelling. Like, yes, Eddie went into it, the commentary went into, but like we know that. But that was his brother, tag team partner, and that, just seeing that, I was like, okay. And even just the as much of the face being revealed as they did, that's always very interesting to me. Like anytime you'll see, it happens with Mysterio. In fact, I think Jericho did it at one point to Mysterio, like, the hands over the face,
I think you saw Penta more. I think Penta's face was more exposed.
I was literally just getting to that, man. And I thought that was like really cool. Like, I was really invested in the storytelling of the match. Not to mention that the match itself, like, that's my kind of match. Fast paced, crazy moves. The what was it, like on the apron, the package pile driver? That was insane.
Oh man,
classic Pentagon, man.
Tope con hilo with the corkscrew over the top.
He does that so clean.
That's a tornado. Yeah, that's a tornado.
That was insane, like a thing of beauty, picture perfect. Like I didn't even want to see it in slow motion because it was so good. So I love the match, and I love the storytelling with the masks, and that in itself was really good way to end the show because of the caliber of the match. All the stuff afterwards, and again, like that incomplete thought. It's like, oh, he's back, and like you bring it back to that Death Triangle, that very short-lived faction. They love their factions, but then again, it's like, oh, he's just back. Surprise! By the way, Tony Khan just scheduled a match with him for next week. It was like, hold on, like, you know what I mean?
Listen, Tony Khan he's a reactionary guy. He thinks on his feet, man. He's like, you know what we got to do? Next week I got to.
He's boosting himself, and he can book a spot. He can book a match in 5 seconds. That's his thing.
So can I. Wow. Tony Khan, where are you? Hire me. But there's a moment in that where he's kicking Phoenix out of the ring. You see Pentagon react to it. So it's like, oh, so Pentagon, like, there's always been that Pentagon Phoenix rivalry. Like, going back to Lucha Underground, going into AAA, going all over the place. These guys have fought each other all over. That was the hot match, Pentagon and Phoenix, when Lucha Underground was starting. And around the indies, around America, I know AEW booked it and other places booked it too. PWG had some stuff with them. where I've seen that package pile drive around the apron, not only from Pentagon, but from Kevin Owens back in the day. And when Kevin Owens can go to AEW will be just the great moment.
You have no idea. I'm a massive Kevin Owens fan too.
Well, you're from Canada. It's literally your job.
And I'm half French Canadian, so like it's
oh boy,
hand in hand.
I remember seeing him and Sammy in their not Sammy, a guy who remember
the episode of Raw. I remember that.
No.
Oh, okay.
El Generico, who resembles Sami Zayn. I remember seeing them in Rahway, New Jersey for Jersey All Pro Wrestling. Them and a whole bunch of other Canadian guys from IWS came down. That was a lot of fun.
Kevin Steen, right?
Yeah, but these guys have fought each other before, and so Pentagon and Phoenix, so the rivalry is already there, but that's still his brother, and I think he showed that. So it's like, oh, is this a little shade of, hey, yeah, like I can be pissed at my brother, but you can't. I can treat my brother poorly. You can't, though. I don't care if you're my best friend. You can't treat my brother that way. And I'm wondering if we're going to get that where it's going to be a death triangle is going to reform, which I was the name, but like the faction, A+.
Triangle de la Muerte sounds a lot better.
Yeah.
That's what they call it.
But oh yeah. But you know, so if we're going to get an Eddie Kingston, Butcher and Blade versus Death Triangle feud, hey man, I'm good. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm for that. I'm all for that.
Pac is I think Pac is still super underrated, even in AEW. He's had one of my favorite singles matches with him and Kenny Omega in the Iron Man match.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Same. But we gotta talk about this though. I really want to talk about the next two things here. These are big. So one, I kind of want to save the funnier one for the end. We'll talk about this one first, and I guess they're both kind of funny in a way. So I was curious to see what was going down, if MJF was actually going to join the Inner Circle. Is this just shenanigans? Was he just gonna say, yeah, I don't really actually want to join, I just wanted to beat you, or something like that? I had so many theories going into that, induction. You still seen like Santana was on board, Jericho was on board, Ortiz and Hager weren't having it, and Sammy got tricked. He was at the beach. The whole MJF and email thing was hilarious. But now I guess they're going ahead and continuing this for a while now. This looks like it's going to be dragged on, and I think the end game is going to be Jericho or MJF. I don't think Jericho wants to implode. Obviously, he doesn't want to. He hates when he implodes big factions. I think it's MJF. I can't even put my hands on it. I can't see the end game here. I need to know what you guys are thinking the end game is here after watching what we saw this week.
Let's say this. All right. I think we all know, where this is going, but we know that, we don't know how long this is going to play out. Think about it. We have the Inner Circle. We have MJF. We have Jericho and MJF in Vegas. I'm seeing another musical number. I don't know about you guys.
They're going to use that casino play where they did the commercial for the casino game. I guarantee you it's the same environment. They taped it all on that one day. And people on Twitter are hilarious. I have this graphic here to put up. People are comparing this to The Hangover. And oh man, I got a couple here. One from my boy MJF Scarf, and the other one from a guy named Irish Wrestling Entertainment. So
is that me?
Is I don't know. But these are the pictures here. So you have the one drunken picture from The Hangover where they're at the wedding in their blue suits, and then they crop the heads of Hager, MJF, Jericho, and Santana on there. Then you have the actual original Hangover movie cover with MJF as
the baby.
No, Sammy's the baby. Sammy Guevara's the baby. Jericho is Zach Galifianakis. Hager's Bradley Cooper, and then MJF's the other guy, and I always forget his damn name. But then there's another one that's being made. I have it up here as well. The Hangover 4, and it has the picture of them all holding the picture of this thumbnail today. They're all holding their Vegas ticket, and it is a Tony Khan film. The Hangover 4. These graphics are amazing. You guys in the wrestling community are freaking hilarious. I love you guys, and I can't wait because next week I think it's going to be up to that entertainment level. We're going to get another dinner debonair type of wrestling type of I guess, skit. I guess we're gonna get. I don't know if the debonair is like an entertainment skit. Next week we're definitely gonna get some type of hangover type shenanigans. I think they're gonna play to the movie. Maybe we get MJF quoting more Drake, whatever he's gonna start doing next week. But it's gonna be entertaining as hell. I can't wait for they slay. It says they're gonna slay Las Vegas next week.
Bob, that's your favorite word.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm using it a lot on my my commentary.
You're slaying.
Yeah, no, a lot of the puns over here, but this is going to be a lot more entertainment value. This is going to be a lot more segments. A lot of the running fan theories right now is one of the tickets doesn't say Vegas. Sammy's going to be out, in the desert. So, well, I guess Vegas is the desert. But
okay, yeah.
Or he's going to be in coach.
It's going to be little things like that. Exactly. He's going to be pushed aside. We've already seen MJF and Jericho face off. My good close personal friend here, Chris Jericho, when he was in Sync. But I digress. Shameless name drop.
Interviewed him twice on the popbreak.com. You're welcome.
Hey, check it out. There you go. But anyway, we've seen the match. Like Kyle and I have said in the past, I think the ultimate payoff here is going to be for Wardlow, who's kind of in the background. I like him and almost said Swagger, Hager looking at each other, when they're up the ramp a couple weeks ago or at the pay-per-view, whatever it was. I think this is going to be a lot of segments. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be that entertainment value. I'm excited for the next musical number in Vegas. I'm excited to see all the funny stuff they do. There probably will be a hangover reference just because of all these memes people are putting out. AEW pays attention to that. So I like that stuff. I'm excited for it. And I'm hoping that Wardlow comes out on top because he's low-key in the background right now.
I just would like to say this to AEW fans who take AEW way too seriously. Yes, it's supposed to be a sports-based alternative, and if you watch the wrestling matches, there it is. If you want those intense promos, there's plenty of them. But there's also, if you know the people involved in AEW, they also have a penchant for comedy, whether you like it or not. And this is going to be funny. Chris Jericho, to me, has not struck out yet. I think the only segment that didn't work as well for me was that, November segment where Soul Train Jones showed up. Virgil showing up was amazing. And then it kind of, dragged out a little bit. But
how about Mike Tyson? And that never kind of played out to anything.
I thought that was gonna, we were gonna see a Tyson. Well, I originally thought it was gonna be Tyson and Orange Cassidy versus.
That would have been such a
Sammy
WWE thing to do, though. That would have been just not good.
Yeah, well, we'll get into something like that in a little bit. But I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and we're just going to fuel the Sammy hatred for for everyone and just his alienation. And I could see this running all night where we keep checking back in. This is like a bar crawl. Oh, they're here now. And they're here now.
They're watching the Backstreet Boys show.
Hey, listen, it's, I know there's a couple of EVPs who have seen the Backstreet Boys before. But yeah, why not? It's going to be a lot of fun, and I don't know where the end game is. I think I said on the BCP, that I think it'll be Sammy turning face. I think Wardlow will also break away from the group because those are two guys they're going to be banking on, not just to feud with MJF and the Inner Circle, but as stars in the company. And eventually, down the road, that Chris Jericho face turn is going to come. That Chris Jericho being kicked out of the Inner Circle because MJF will somehow talk or tease into it. Hager is easily manipulated, I feel like, as a character, not a human being. And, he's going to take over the Inner Circle, and Jericho will lose a match to somebody he's not supposed to. Maybe he'll lose a match to, Sonny Kiss, for example. Chris, you're out. Yeah. And then, or they just beat the shit out of him.
Marco Stunt gets a victory over Jericho.
It would probably be Sonny Kiss more than Marco Stunt.
Yeah,
I'm just going to say that. But yeah.
Or Brandon Cutler. He gets another one of his wins.
Or he just listens to Peter Avalon, who's now on a bed.
Or Peter Avalon gets the win, and he's like, yeah, well, you have 3 wins, but I beat Chris Jericho.
Exactly.
There you go.
So as long as
you're welcome, AEW. There's your story.
unless we can get a Ray Rosas payday to team with Peter Avalon. That's all I want to say. Tiff, that's a West Coast Indies reference. But yeah, I feel like Chris Jericho eventually be out of the inner circle, and then we're going to see this probably limited Jericho face run, and I think that'll be really cool because people cheer for him anyway.
Oh yeah, they sing his
damn theme song.
God, yeah, they. It's almost like they're stopping the music more and more shorter now and letting the crowd sing more. I find week by week,
which is great. And you know what? Give, as the kids would say, give him his flowers. He deserves it. So let's have Chris Jericho have a little face run in AEW. Then do what they did with Ric Flair. I mean, just turn him heel again because it's very easy to turn someone that over face then heel again.
Don't be a Big Show and come out heel and face every other week.
But there's a difference. Like when Flair, when Flair was like WCW, like he had when I first started watching, he was actually a face with Sting, and then quickly turned on him. Yeah. But it was convincing that he turned face because they were facing Terry Funk and Muda and all these guys. Then they turned on Sting, because of reasons. I don't want to get into a 1989 NWA WCW discussion podcast, which I can do at any time. Don't trust me, I can. I was 8 years old, but I can still remember it. But yeah, it's like neither of you were born. But
yeah, I was born. I just wasn't coherent.
Yeah, so I mean, it could happen. I could see Jericho definitely a little bit of a face turn there, a Lake Sex Gods reunion, maybe for one night only or something like that. I think it'd be cool.
Okay. So we gotta talk about this though, because it was the most.
The Bunkhouse Brawl. I'm all.
Okay, that was good. Okay, we can briefly talk about that. It was amazing. Great job. I enjoyed it. The blood, everything about it was amazing. Everything was done great. I want to talk about what we experienced with Cody Rhodes and now the newly signed Jade Cargill. They just announced today. The press release.
Apparently, Judge Jeff Jones, formerly of ECW fame, has all the power on who gets the is now elite graphic.
Yeah,
we found out today on Unrestricted.
Okay,
I can't believe Judge Jeff Jones of ECW has that much power. But here we go.
It's insane, right? But she's all elite, and man, I think she's gonna be a nice addition to this women's roster. I 100% went and looked her up. I think she's gonna do something. It's weird out of left field for her to just appear on one night, sign the next day without you. It's just, to me, if you're doing that, she's gonna do something good. Like she's gonna be something played in this division. So
to me, that means she was signed a long time ago because she was in that crowd a long time ago.
Yeah. I mean, but there's a lot of them out there that are not signed. They're just there because they're getting free TV time. I'm imagining.
Well, maybe. Supposedly, there's a whole bunch of people who were assigned we don't know about.
Really?
There's developmental talent. Yeah. I mean, listen, I like I said, there's a lot of time in the day where I need to feel happiness in my life. So listening to interviews and reading stuff that supposedly, like Tony Khan came out and said on an interview with Mike Johnson, a PW Insider, who I happen to be a contributor of, that there are people signed to AEW developmental deals that they just have not announced. And he said, I'll scoop you right now. And that's when the Max Caster, Anthony Bowens, Jersey represent, and Bob Culture interview represent, Anthony Bowens. That's where that got broke. So yeah, there are people who are signed to that AEW developmental deal of some sort. And
hopefully not Shaq.
Well,
what she mentioned.
No, I'm just saying. So like, there's people who were signed, but like Jade Cargill, they were signed already. So,
okay.
But if we're going to talk about that segment, man, that was weird.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, let's take this woman who you've seen in the crowd for weeks and months on end, because she has a very distinctive look. I mean, she's tall, she's chiseled, and has white hair. So anyone with white hair in a crowd will stand out. And she's just like there, and I'm just like, I don't know what's happening right now. Like,
or Brandy coming out and talking like you've never heard her talk like before. I'm like, okay, where's this Brandy coming from?
It's coming from the heart is where it's coming from, because people said she pulled her Stephanie McMahon, and I was like, no way. This felt so realistic, as opposed to Stephanie McMahon screeching and yelling. Like, This was Brandy Rhodes is great when she's defending Cody, because you remember when the Spears thing happened, she cut that promo about her beloved, and that was Cody, and she cut that really serious, very just somber promo, and it was so effective. Her coming out, and because let's face it, oh gosh, I completely blanked her name already. Jade Cargill?
Yeah, Jade Cargill. Yeah.
She touched the back of his neck, which is a very much a no-no for any man who's married. No woman's doing that. No way.
But like, even when she was saying like
Rob's
right at first,
in there just like, you know what?
So suggestive comments were like right out of the bat out of Cargill's mouth. And she's like, I don't know, what can you do for me? And I'm like, oh, what the hell is going on?
Exactly. And so Brandy comes out, and you know, Cody always refers to himself as, well, Daddy eats first, or Daddy did this while he was away. Well, you know who always trumps Dad? Mom always trumps Dad. And Mom came out and she laid the shit down. This was the law.
Oh, I'm just saying the TSN people were late on the bleep button a couple of times.
Where the TNT people were too. Because Brandy cut what I thought was a really, really impassioned, realistic, pissed off wife promo. And I was just like, I don't need this Brandy Rhodes every week, but every once in a while, that's the Brandy Rhodes I want to see, because she killed it for me. Yeah. Besides being hilarious at times, it felt organic. It felt real.
So are the Nightmare family turning mafia? Just let me paint you the picture here. What Cody's been dressing like lately. What the hell Arn Anderson wore at Full Gear? That was like complete Tony Soprano, like mafia gear type outfit, like the full Adidas suit, Adidas shoes, the little zip down, the hair flowing, the gold chain. I'm like, okay, our Nightmare family turning mafia. What is going on here? Are we getting the mafia type of Nightmare family? Like you got basically the Bruisers and Dustin and QT going out there beating the shit out of people with anything that looks like a weapon. Like I'm just going, what's going on with the Nightmare family? I think something's happening. They're just all of a sudden been turned up in this last week. Yeah, like Arn's always worn the Mike Ditka outfit up until this point. Why did that go away?
Well, because Billy Gunn joined. Billy Gunn told him to wear track pants.
Yeah, go buy yourself some Adidas.
They're comfy. They're super comfy.
He was Adidas from head to toe.
Billy Gunn. Indeed. But the Nightmare family thing makes zero sense to me. I just don't even understand what the hell it is. Because it's like, it's my faction, but it's not my faction. It's my team, but it's not my team. But
just go full mafia. I'll be all for that. I'll buy a shirt. I don't care.
It basically is the mafia at this point. It basically is. Austin Gunn's in there, so come on. Rob's like, I don't know who any of these people are besides Billy Gunn.
If you think about it, though, the Nightmare family, they only really all came out together like once, like all together. You know, they're all scattered through AEW Dark or having their different things. Like they're connected by basically the name, the Nightmare family, and that's about it. You know, we don't know why certain people have come into it. Like I like the faction. I liked a lot of people in it. I think some of the picks for it are home runs, but we don't see this as you know what I'm talking about, man. Yeah, exactly. You see this. You don't see them as a cohesive unit, not to anyone's fault. They just haven't been used in that capacity. And I just wanted to touch on the Jade thing, if I may, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm never a huge fan of like when the like obviously I get why they do it to change things up, like when the celebrities come in that aren't wrestlers.
But notice we haven't talked about that celebrity just yet.
Right. So with her, like I kind of recognized her. Like obviously has a great look, and she was pretty good on the mic. It was more like the execution and the timing was a little bit off, which again, it's a first timer for sure in that particular thing. But correct me if I'm wrong. She's a cosplayer model. I think I'd seen her as like Storm in the past. It was like a really cool cosplay, but I don't think she is a wrestler. Correct?
She is. She's trained by QT Marshall and Heath Slater.
Oh, she is. My mistake. Okay. Well, I got
Thank
you.
I was just gonna say I thought I read that today, and I'm like, hey, what did I read that wrong?
I apologize for that. I usually try to keep track of everybody. I apologize for that.
Hey,
but to me, the time, like the lines she delivered to Cody were great. It got the pop from the reaction from the crowd, I should say. But the timing was like a little bit off in the delivery. And like I'm one to talk. You know, I've had times where I had to go in the ring and step out of that journalist capacity, and I want to respect the business. Like I that was the most important thing to me, was to be respectful. So to me, I think sometimes people get out there, which I'm worried about with like when the celebrities come in, as we're alluding to, and they're kind of like, hey, I'm playing wrestler, and you feel it the whole time, and like, hey, I'm gonna see you Friday night, and it's not like necessarily disrespectful, but I want the celebrities and stuff to respect it, and I worry about that. And again, it's another thing. I know I keep going back to this. I don't see the dot connect here. I don't see. Oh, and his name is Shaq. Like, oh, huge reveal. Yeah, but what's Shaq's beef like with Cody? And like we'll find out. Don't get me wrong.
So it's like a random connection. It's like he
how do we know that? But how do we know?
I'm going to explain it as best I can, and it's not a good answer. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is like he has talked about that in interviews, that he's like, I want to, I've wanted to step in the ring for a long time, and I want Cody Rhodes. He has said that multiple times, but it never makes sense, like, because you think about like, okay, like Floyd Mayweather in the Big Show, that was heel versus face, and like Shaq is like, basically a face. People love him. Like if it was Shaq and MJF, that makes more sense than Shaq and Cody.
I don't want to see Shaq versus anybody.
No. I'm just I agree.
And I love Shaq.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, this footage is going on Shaq Life Season 2. But it's like that makes more sense than him versus Cody, because Cody's like a good guy. Like, I mean, I know that you're like, heels and faces don't matter in AEW. I'm like, well, it kind of does.
He should be a mafia guy. That's why.
I mean, he's, listen, they couldn't find De Niro. De Niro didn't want to take a bump. What can I tell you? But yeah, it's very odd that it's Shaq, because at first I'm just like, oh shit, is this like Battle of Fale or something like that?
I thought that was
like,
gonna be Ryback as well, to be honest. I'm
if it was Ryback, you know what? I would have reacted worse to Ryback than Shaq. I'm going to say it because I'm just like,
I think it would be the same for me. I don't want either. Like I'd rather them go completely 180 and say, we said Shaq, but maybe it's the nickname for this wrestler.
But here's my thing about this. I've thought about, like, for personally a Shaq versus Cody match, I will quote my best friend from when he was a child. Can I have no more, please?
I don't think it's happening. I think we're
I don't think it's happening either. I think Shaq's gonna be like, oh, you thought it was me. It's actually this guy. And like that, but
it's Marco Stunt.
He's
the monster.
Yeah. But also it'd be a hell of a turn for Luchasaurus if he chose him. Anyway, not the point. It shows that Warner Media has that much faith in AEW that they're willing to put one of their guys in a big spot against Cody. I think that's a big thing. It's also going to get, and I'm not a fan of it, but it's going to get that much needed mainstream exposure for AEW. It's going to get Stephen A. Smith talking about it. It's going to get NBA people
new company,
talking
right? They have
Shaq,
to make the rounds.
And Rob, you were talking about this before. Shaq is a lifelong wrestling fan. He's been on WCW pay-per-views. He dressed up like Hulk Hogan one time. He's done stuff with WWE and WCW.
Yeah, Royal Rumble. Was he not in the Royal Rumble?
Oh shit, he wasn't.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he was. It was
a few years ago. Yeah,
they were thinking of. Yeah, that was the year they were thinking of building to the Big Show, or the year after was the thing they were doing Big Show and Shaq. But so I think he would have respect for the business. Fightful, I will say, on their podcast, Post Dynamite, had a great theory. What if Charles Barkley was in Shaq's corner talking shit to Shaq the entire time, saying just like, you're terrible, you're horrible? It'd be great.
Man.
Great.
Come on, man.
I love those guys. Those guys would put me to sleep like Thursday nights, man. I love those guys, man.
Put me to sleep. They almost put me to sleep when I was waiting for Late Night Dynamite.
But I guess we can end it off by saying, like, hopefully not, and we'll see where it goes from here. Cody and Darby are teaming up together next week to face Cage and Starks. Maybe if Cargill's going to be out there and she does something to cost them the match against Cage and Starks, we'll see what happens. But next week's Dynamite is stacked. Like, we have a stacked episode.
I think their match won't go to Revolution. It'll be that December 2nd one.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to get a long run with this.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a way to kind of usher Jade Cargill into the company in a big way. And by the way, I'm at tangent again. It's great that Jade Cargill is signed to AEW, but like the women in AEW, you had a very short match this week. It was very fun. Tay Conti and Red Velvet were awesome, but you need to start signing veterans. Like you had Allison Kay there, you had Layla Hirsch there. Rumors of Killer Kelly, and Lindsay Snow. Sign women who are veterans. Get them on TV. You need the women's division to do better. Like we know the end game. At least I think the end game is going to be Britt Baker and Sheeta for that title. Get women on TV, and if you're worried about them being inexperienced, sign women who are veterans.
So here
and put them on TV.
So I agree with that. They need to do like something.
And,
like that. And
women first, ladies first are always on the Bob Culture podcast. Put them in open.
And if they do sign enough women, this is where I think this idea could actually do wonders. So on Instagram, Medusa put out a theory of what they should do with the second show, and I love this theory. If they got enough women, they got enough of those veterans you were talking about, enough notable names signed to the company, they can do this idea. And I'm going to read it out for you guys. This was, I should have had the graphic put up on the screen, but I didn't. So here's her pitch for the next AEW show. A 2-hour all-female show focus on the women's division, focus on storytelling, focus on character building, call it AEW, have it live on Saturday nights, you have to move it for pay-per-views. AEW Neon Saturday night.
Perfect. Love it. Tony Schiavone on a post-game show said, I want that. He wanted a full Dynamite dedicated to the women.
Yeah.
I've said, put them on Mondays. Bring that YouTube series back on Mondays. Bring Veda Scott back as an announcer. Shaul Guerrero as the ring announcer. Have a woman as a producer. I know Awesome
Kong she put was, as an in-ring trainer. Medusa would be an in-ring trainer and booker. Vicky Guerrero would be a promo trainer and booker as well.
Exactly, and you could build women. You could build the women there, and then move them to Dynamite when they're ready. And because AEW fans will travel to those shows.
Yeah, I think if they got enough women, I mean, they have a chunk of like young green independent women now, but you got to sign those vets, like you were saying, to get in the notable names in order for that show to, maybe
Listen, there is a tournament happening at Synergy Wrestling, the GSI. There's a lot of great women on that show. Book them. Willow Nightingale, one of my favorites, Solo Darling. There are women out there that could be instant players for AEW's women's division and who are still on the younger side. And there are people you could bring in, just make it happen, because they are not helping themselves by putting a Tay Conti Red Velvet match on. And half of that match is in picture-in-picture.
Yeah.
And Tay Conti looked awesome.
There were a lot of commercials I felt on Wednesday last night.
I felt like, especially in the second half.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Scorpio Sky and Sean Spears. There was a lot of commercials during that one.
Mm-hmm. So, but hopefully they fix it. I mean, they're always with a green company like this. They're always gonna have their issues at first, and they'll slowly work on it, which they haven't. They've worked on their, whenever there is an issue, they've slowly worked it out. Like to me, like one thing I point out all the time that they still kind of have to work on is their transition in audio from when they do a backstage segment. You kind of you hear that echoey sound because it's playing in the arena for the fans that are there, but they don't have that switch it to for the TV audience so they can hear what the promo's going on. And that's like a big thing for me. Like I kind of want to hear what it kind of ruins it if I'm hearing that big echo sound. Like I can't get into the promo. So, they're slowly working and adjusting those problems, which, I mean, it's going to be with everything in AEW. So, as the weeks go on, I mean, this company just kind of seems like they're heading in the right direction. So we'll see what happens.
And please don't take my criticisms of AEW as meaning that I don't love AEW. It's the one wrestling show I watch a week. It's my favorite thing to watch during the week.
I'm doing a podcast on it, so I definitely love it.
I just want to see it get better, and because I think they can get better.
Oh, they have the potential to be the big company, man. And eventually, they do.
I think I've also I've converted Rob a little bit to AEW. I wore him down just a little bit.
I think what converted me, I mean, definitely you, Bill. There's no denying
I've tried so hard.
It's the opportunity. It's the opportunity for the younger talents, the opportunity for a lot of our friends, as we've seen recently in the Northeast, and it's great, man. It's opportunity, it's job, it puts food on the table for some of our friends, man, and they listen to the fans. That's something I've always noticed about AEW, man. It's just that environment. When we went to that show in Philly, I think it was like the second Philly show they had there, and Cody,
you were there. I was on vacation.
Yeah, they were tearing down.
I was so pissed. I'm like, why did I have to go to Disney? I could have gone to AEW.
They were tearing down the set, and Cody stayed while they were tearing down the set just to shake everyone's hand, thank you, take pictures with every single person, because he carries that company on his back. And I could just see, just like the camera shots to the fans, the way their social media is, man. Like Cody, this isn't like a pop. Like Cody likes my stuff. I said, Sonny Kiss versus Cody's going to be a show stealer. Like, I thank Tony Khan and Cody Rhodes for like all the opportunity for these indie towns that we love so much, and like from Cody, like. If anything, it makes you feel more connected to the product. It makes you feel like they're listening, even if you didn't even look at it and just
they are really a fan-oriented company, and that truly does. When they say they care about the fans, they care about the fans. Tony listens to the feedback and the criticism, and he takes that. Okay, like the fans don't like this. And he goes to his team. Okay, what can we do to change this? Because it's not resonating with our fans. They don't just go, oh, fuck the fans. We're gonna stick with this because we want to stick with this. So I really do appreciate that about this company. And right now is a perfect time to get on board this company because it's so new. Like, you want to be the ones to say, like, you started watching this company when it first started. I couldn't say that with WWE. I couldn't say that with WCW because I started watching wrestling in 2001 when WCW died. Like, I missed some eras, right? But now with AEW, I'm here at the beginning at a perfect age, at a perfect time. So, like, right now is the perfect time to jump on board with AEW because this company has the potential to take off and be a giant global company like a New Japan or like a WWE. So they have the tools. Eventually they will hopefully get there. It's just, I know they're only a year in. It takes time with these things. So I love what they've done so far. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And as we've been talking about this whole podcast, they're making moves right now. The video game, the title match on TV, returning.
Literally 5 T-shirts were made just from stuff we said from this podcast.
And Tony Khan, that big, I'm not sure if the show necessarily lived up to the hype, but he said like, hey, watch tonight. It was a really good show. I love the main event. Just a couple real quick.
The tweet did hurt the show a little bit for me.
Yeah,
it did a little bit, but when I go back to it, thinking about it, like divorcing myself from that tweet, I'm like, oh, this did accomplish what they really wanted to.
Yeah,
but you got to be careful. Like Tony Khan's an excitable dude. If you ever listen to him, and he's just like, it's gonna be great, and you're like, okay, no, it didn't shift the wrestling world. It shifted stuff in AEW. It didn't shift the wrestling world. So let's temper that a little bit because AEW's fan base, in my opinion. I know I'm probably running along with this whole thing, but it's like we want so many things because remember they said the bridges are down. So who are they going to work with? Did Tony Khan buy the NWA from Billy Corgan? Are we working with New Japan? Like is Ethan Page and Josh Alexander going to show up? Like all these things are possible. And when you say stuff like that,
and NWA
like,
behind their backs.
No, dude, Impact Anthem just laid off.
The Cons have a lot of money.
They just laid off a whole bunch of good people from that company today. So unfortunately,
really,
from Access. Unfortunately, they're great publicists. Unfortunately, got the axe today. But Sean Graven, who helped us out with both WoW and Impact. So Sean Graven, great guy. Graven probably is his name. But yeah, it's just like what are we gonna see next? And when it's Pac and when it's some other stuff, you're just like, oh, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be. But when you look at it from the micro level, like when you zoom in, that accomplished, this is a better first chapter than maybe
overhyped for the season premiere.
No, but I think when you look at it, when you divorce it from that hype,
and
you're looking where are we going story wise? Because you got to look at AEW. Like after every pay per view, it's like, okay, here's the new chapter. Here's the new stories.
I can appreciate that. They've been doing that
this
right.
Is going to a place.
Yeah.
And now we're going to have that December 2nd show as going to be their big show. That'll be a midway point to Revolution, and it'd be like, okay, now we're going to build to that, and that show will get us to the next show. That'll get us to Revolution. That's where we're going to be at. So that's going to be pretty cool. So I like that facet of AEW, where it's not just like, hey, remember this match you saw on pay-per-view? We're going to run it back 7 more times, and then we're going to do it on pay-per-view again. And it's like, all right, well, that's not special.
Now we're going to have a pay-per-view the week after we have this pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And have half of the same matches you just seen.
At least we have NXT. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I still think they watered down a little bit.
I mean, I gotta put Rob over a little bit. He loves NXT.
I know, Rob, but I feel like it
hasn't been the same.
No, ever since they moved to the network, it was like, it's lost a little bit of that touch.
It's the Gargano heel turn. I won't start the rant, but I don't get it.
I know. It was a rough night for the Garganos last week.
Anywho, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Enough AEW talk for one night. I'll definitely have you guys back again to talk some AEW. This was amazing. Yeah. We could talk about for like hours on end. But we got to end it for our listeners out there. So thank you guys if you did tune in live tonight on whether it be YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, Facebook, wherever you're tuning in live. Thank you very much. If you're watching back on YouTube, thank you very much for watching back. If you're downloading the episode, thank you very much. Whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're getting your podcast and you're getting the No Holds Barred Network, thank you for listening in to the All Elite Podcast. If you're on the Apple Podcast side of things, make sure you leave us a nice comment and a nice, generous 5-star rating. Helps us with the chartable side of things. Thank you very much to all those who have so far. I do go out and read them all. Thank you very much. And before we let these two guys give their shameless plugs, I'm going to plug our own show here. Make sure you guys are following us on our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at All Elite Pod. Make sure you're following the correct one. There's the logo for you as a reference. There is a couple jobbers out there that like to use our logo, so just make sure you're following the right All Elite Podcast there. So thank you very much to all our followers that are currently following us now, and continue to follow us as we go along here. So I'm going to let Bob do himself first. So, Bob, give yourself your shameless plug to end the show off, and where can everybody follow you?
Oh, I do like those shameless plugs, man. And thank you again for having me, Tiff. All the love. We're sending all the love to you.
And Kyle.
Everyone,
you still got heat. You still got heat with Tiff no matter what you say.
Story of my life. But basically, you can check out the Bob Culture Podcast. You can get that great sticker, the great T-shirts over at tpublic.com. Just look for Bob Culture Podcast merch. I appreciate everyone buying the shirts. It's awesome, really good. We also have Lay Editor-in-Chief shirts available from our good brother, hashtag Dad Instincts, the man, the myth, the legend, Lay Editor-in-Chief from thepopbreak.com. We'll let him talk about that. But you can check out the Bob Culture Podcast on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, all that good stuff. Everything's going great. We have a Twitch channel now that's taken off. We have interviews with the likes of Jake the Snake Roberts, Jim Ross, Velvet Sky, Summer Rae, Tommy Dreamer. The list goes on and on. We even had a Ghostbuster on the show, Mr. Ernie Hudson, which was just amazing. So thank you guys for listening. And like I always say, stay safe, everyone.
All right, Bill, take it away, son.
All right, I got a lot of stuff to plug. First off, if you want to follow me on Twitter, where I just basically talk about wrestling or scream about the presidential election, I voted for Joe Biden, if anyone's wondering. Follow me at Bodkin Writes, WRITES. Of course, every day, check out thepopbreak.com. Hey, Pop Break, that's an interesting name. Yes, I named it after the movie Point Break. And yes, I did tell Keanu Reeves about it when I met him one time. We have been around for 11 years. We are covering film. We are covering television. We're covering music. We're covering comic books, pro wrestling, digital trends, all sorts of great stuff. What have we covered on the site? Covered a lot of stuff, guys. We've covered everyone from Pink and Justin Timberlake at Madison Square Garden to Taylor Swift at MetLife Stadium to the locals in Asbury Park, New Jersey. We're covering everything in the world of music. You want to talk about movie reviews and interviews? Of course, we've interviewed Matthew McConaughey, an Oscar winner himself, Taika Waititi, Kevin Smith, the cast members of The Walking Dead, and yours truly has interviewed Chris Jericho twice for wrestling and actually for music twice. Actually, the second one is my favorite interview of all time. Of course, in the world of wrestling, we have covered WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, MLW, New Japan, Ring of Honor. And we have had the pleasure, since we're talking on an AEW podcast, talking to Cody Rhodes multiple times, as well as Mr. Joey Janela, who I have met multiple times at GCW and did a shot with him in a bar one time. We talked about how
look at
David
that.
Arquette almost died in Los Angeles the day after it happened. But yes, check us out on Twitter at popbreak.com/popbreak.com. All those are all spelled out. And at the Pop Break on Instagram. I am also the co-host. I am the host of the Socially Distanced podcast, which airs every single Friday on Spotify, Anchor, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Also check out Pop Break TV on those same platforms.
Yeah, take a breath.
And one time I promoted a show that had Jay Lethal in the main event of a TLC match, and I told him about it, and he laughed his ass off about it.
Well, there you go.
So yes, I have been around the block.
Yeah,
We
officially.
love those name drops. Can you tell we love name
Yeah,
drops?
that's officially the longest.
You want to talk about the time I got in trouble interviewing Apollo Crews, and we started talking about Mr. Hughes, and a WWE representative said, "Please stop talking about Mr. Hughes," in the middle of the interview. That definitely happened.
It's officially the longest, like, shameless plug I've ever given this someone. It's
Brother,
great.
when
This
you've
is
been around
amazing.
the block as long as I have, you have a
Just
lot to talk.
just do an episode on shameless plugs. Anyways, guys, that's gonna wrap it up here for the All Elite podcast right here in the No Holds Barred Network, your source for all wrestling podcast content and more. I'm your host as always. Thank you to my two co-hosts today for joining me for this episode. Really appreciate you guys, and definitely gonna do this sometime soon. Again, this was awesome. So, guys, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna bid you adieu. Good night. Bang. And oh God, I almost